Have you ever encountered a hurdle with launching or growing your business? Listen, there are two things that run a business, the back end and your soft skills.
Telling you right now, if these aren't in place, you'll lose clients and you'll lose money. You don't want that? Well, you're in the right place.
Hey, I'm Dana.
Hey, I'm Sarah.
We're your hosts of the Entrepreneur Encounter, and we're going to give you a behind-the-scenes glance into our businesses, give you genuine feedback, tips and tricks, plus occasionally bring on guests that care about supporting you to grow your business organically and nurturing authentic relationships. Are you ready? Welcome back to another episode of Entrepreneur Encounter. We're your hosts, Dana
And Sarah.
According to WellMind, procrastination is the act of delaying or putting off tasks until the last minute, or in worst case scenarios, past their deadline. Some researchers define procrastination as a form of self-regulation failure characterized by the irrational delay of tasks despite potentially negative consequences. So, no secret, today we're going to be discussing procrastination and how, as professionals, we can overcome this. And to help with this discussion, we have a lovely guest, Campbell Rapin. Christine is the CEO and owner of Clear Acceleration, Inc. She's energetic, tell it like it is advisor, mentor, consultant, and speaker with more than 25 years experience in marketing, sales, and operations, working with startups to the biggest companies on the planet. Christine, would you like to share a little bit more about yourself and like the types of businesses you've worked with, all of your expertise, all of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a really interesting career because it's probably the most unlikely. If you are a person who said, I don't want to do just one thing, then you are my people. So I started my early career in marketing and I kept saying, it's pretty, so what? There was not a lot of love in the room when I kept saying that to the marketing peeps. And that led me into sales because I said, someone's going to spend money with you. I need to know what it does. I know how it needs to know how it's going to affect things. And that led to me to be in the world of sales on the other side. And then I kept saying, we've got a beautiful idea. Somebody sees the vision. Why can't we deliver what we've promised? And that led me into operations. And I have worked with companies, everything from the solopreneur to the really big multinational names that are in every product in your household. And what is true is that everybody wants to create more impact. Everybody wants to create revenue because that's a business's goal, is profitable revenue. And what they often find is a struggle to who do we want to talk to? What do we want to say to get them moving? And then what do we want to create, which is a valued result? And it's been a really interesting career. I've worked personally in 9 industries, and my clients are in everything from videos to marketing to selling rare books to being in the consulting services where they're selling their brain power. It doesn't matter. We all face the same challenges, which is where will our next client come from? And that's what I actually help my clients figure out and then predictably create so that that is a known thing to focus on rather than to procrastinate around.
That's awesome. That's a really cool track record working with from the solopreneur to all the way to the big people up there. That's awesome. So in your experience, what are some common reasons why people tend to procrastinate?
You know, it really comes down to one, first off, just being in our own way and really getting caught in the thinking space and particularly the overthinking space. You know, I always tell people, I view the world of business really simply. It's not effortless, but it is really simple. And the thing to remember is that your goal in business, your goal in marketing, your goal in sales, your goal in operations is to create connection and movement. And movement in itself is what will build the momentum. And it doesn't have to be, you know, the full sprints and the marathons and really expensive. I'm like 1%. Can you show up and do one thing? 1% today, 1% tomorrow, 1% the day after, because honestly, that is going to separate you and actually be the reason you reach the destination you sought and why everybody else didn't, because they do the hokey pokey. They go 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and they're constantly trying to create movement. And then as a result, they get burned out, overwhelmed, they don't get the results and they give up. And when they have that pattern and they lack the belief that they can reach their destination. They get in their own way and they overthink. And so the number one reason I think that people procrastinate is that they're not really sure why what they're doing is non-negotiable. And you get to decide why it's non-negotiable, but you have to do that first. Because if you've made the decision, showing up is really easy. Most of us don't make that decision.
Oh, for sure.
And then we start playing the what if game. And we just spend enough time there that honestly, if we just done what we could have said we were thinking about, it would have taken 10 seconds instead of 10 hours.
Oh, gosh. Yes.
Oh, yeah. I totally agree with you. Like getting out of your comfort zone, because it's taking those baby steps. Because if we're going to be stuck in one spot and just like you said, like doing the what ifs, you're not going to go anywhere, essentially. You're going to be stuck in this like forever cycle of not moving, not getting the thing done, even if it's the simplest thing.
It's a simple thing.
Yeah.
And we often think the what if's a negative, and that's why we stay there.
I do like how you said 1%.
1% is everything.
So like, even if your day is full of back and forth, picking up kids and someone's sick, you're locked out of your CRM. That recently happened to me. They were doing some sort of update and I couldn't get in. Like, and I was like, oh my gosh, so I can't do that. So you have to pivot. And that 1% is look at everything, even just one thing. What's one task I can do that's going to get us closer to our goal? It's obviously not emailing this document through our CRM. So what else can I do to build the momentum so that when it is up and running, I can just pick up where I left off? I really like that.
You know, I tell people, and how I ended up mentoring is an interesting story just as much as my career story. I never set out to mentor people. I set out to be a great entrepreneur. And I have created a lot of business for a lot of different businesses and a lot of dollars, like a lot. Let's talk B's instead of M's. It's a lot. And, you know, it's so interesting as I tell people, I built my first business 1 hour a day. And it was because I could build it while I had kids in sports. I was moving. I had a full-time job. I traveled 40% of the time in that job. I was planning a wedding and building a house at the same time. And I thought, let's add getting a business started into that. Like, it's insane to anybody else's measure. And I thought, I can do that. I'll do it 1 hour a day. And that's the one thing, again, it's really important. And my husband's like, you did what? Or my fiance, at the time we weren't quite married. I said, I've started a business. And he's like, if I just saw you upstairs brushing your teeth, like what just happened between there and here? And I was like, I had an opportunity. I could see the potential. I said, I'm going to commit. That's the decision. And I said, I'm going to do this 1 hour a day. I said, so when you and the kids want to go watch 2 episodes of Friends, which is what they've seen at least a dozen times, I'm going to go build my business. And sometimes I was building my business 1 hour at a time, like full 60 minutes with the door closed. And the agreement was at the end of your 2 episodes, you can knock on the door and I will close it down. Other times I built it standing in the lineup at the airport, at the grocery store, at the coffee shop. And it was the discipline of what can I do? Because showing up is a non-negotiable to me, because I wanted to create something that was bigger than me. And that's the second piece of procrastination. When you get into the what ifs, you let yourself lead to what if it's bad instead of what if it's good. So change that. That's a choice. Flip the switch. But part of that is also then the procrastination that gets into the space of, does it matter? Is it about you? And when we're talking in the world of business, and I tell people that I mentor, I built my first business 1 hour a day. It's not time. It's actually focus, and focus in the capacity you have. So what's the one thing that you can do? And I will keep it really simple. There are 2 things that predict your revenue. So my suggestion is do one of those 2 things because it's going to have the biggest ripple effect to the momentum you're building, and then stay in the movement instead of constantly trying to recreate it, because every science geek listening knows an object in motion is easier to stay in motion than an object starting from zero. So what's the one thing? And do the one thing related to the thing that drives revenue. 2 things that drive revenue.
So many questions. 1 hour a day. And so we do see a lot of social media hype of the 4-hour work week or whatever the spinoff is, essentially aligns with you will build your business on 1 hour a day. And as someone who started her business while working a full-time job and was a single parent of 3, especially I have a hard time focusing on any given thing, let alone all of that. So focus is hard sometimes for me. I see too many things and I get paralyzed with being able to move forward, even by that 1% sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But it is inspiring. I mean, obviously, I've built a business, so I figured out a way to work around it through a lot of trial and error. But in your personal experience, if you focused on certain strategies and techniques for that 1 hour, what did you focus on during that 1 hour? What practical tips or strategies can you share to help you overcome that procrastination? Because sometimes hearing like the friends, there are some days where I'm like, I don't want to do this. I actually want to be lazy and watch TV. So what strategies do you have for that can be implemented if someone does only have 1 hour a day to build something or to start something?
Yeah. And I do think the highlight reel has caught us with weird expectations of what it really takes to grow a business. And to be fair, when I was building 1 hour a day, my goal line was $10,000. That was what I wanted to create in an hour a day. It wasn't the $1 million yachts and lifestyles that you see that's rented on social media.
Yeah.
I was trying to grow $10,000 1 hour a day. And to me, that was a good trade of that time. Now, of course, my business is not a $10,000 a day or a year business. Maybe it's even that a day. It's different, but my time commitment is different. But here's the simple thing you need to know about business. And this is true of every business on the planet, from all the 400 of them plus that I've worked with. 2 things predict your revenue, and only 2. You as a business need to know your business will be built on strangers. Okay, that's just the first tenement of business. Your next client, you probably don't know yet. Or the client you're going to serve in 2 years, you probably don't know yet. So if that's true, what does it mean? It means you need to go make friends with strangers. And what I mean by that is you need to be aware that you have to build a strategy. There's lots of options, but how do you get in front of more people, more ways, more often that you tell, I'm in business and this is what I do? It's not enough to just say, hey, I'm here. Like if you don't say I'm in business and I have a result, you don't get hired. Okay. There's a hint there. That's number one. So the first thing I was doing, and I say this to my clients, if you're growing a business, 70% of your capacity, whatever that is, whether it's 1 hour or more, 70% of your time, I want you to just spend on that. Like everything else off the table. Get out of the overwhelm. Because the most important thing is you can't create the next piece if you don't have anybody to talk to.
Right.
So that's the first piece.
That's such an obvious thing, but like,
Doesn't work any other way. So I'm sorry if I blew up your world and your expectations, but you need to get in front of people. You need to go make friends with strangers.
Mm-hmm.
You have to. Like that's a non-negotiable. So when you say I'm really lazy, it's like I could send a couple of DMs if I didn't want to be on screen. I, made it a practice to say hello to people in a lineup, not in a creepy, weird way, but like I was just building myself the skills if I have to initiate something here, because without initiating an expansion of my potential audience, nothing will create money. And it's that simple. So that's the first piece. 70% of your time today is go meet people.
Can I interject real quick? Because you talking about how you say hey to people in the line and stuff. I had just signed a new client or something. And so normally my treat for myself when I've done this is I go and get my nails done. And I was sitting in the chair to get my feet. It was my toes turn. And I was talking to the lady next to me. And I wasn't even really trying to network, but she happened to mention her husband has a car detailing business. So I was like, oh, well, here's actually a way that you can come and network, because I'm in a women's group. So I was like, you can come on behalf of your husband and share the business and, help promote it or what have you, like constantly networking. And it was so low key because we're just sitting there relaxed, getting our nails done. And I mean, I don't know if she ever came. I haven't seen her since, but it was good practice for me to I would have never talked to her any other time. And she was obviously a complete stranger. So I kind of ripped the Band-Aid off of that.
Well, and it's a perfect moment because truthfully, you have to build the habit and the skill because you're not tied to the outcome, which means because you're not tied to the outcome, like you don't know when a client says yes. You don't know when you're ready to make an offer. You just know that you control the inputs of I showed up today.
Yeah.
So when I showed up 1 hour a day, I was like really clear. I have to talk to a stranger today in some capacity. And it wasn't always about my business, but it meant that I was still practicing the skill. And then guess what? Yes, you sit down. Last night I sat down at a networking event. The woman next to me, she is a perfect ideal buyer for me. She's a solopreneur. She's in the world of marketing. She took her first business from 0 to 5 million. She's a rock star. And she's like, I'm starting a second business and I'm not working with a coach yet. Maybe we should chat. Yes, we should.
Oh, that's like the dream.
You don't know until you put yourself in the game. So I'm going to say, show up and put yourself in the game. So that's the first piece of the puzzle, because you have to make friends with strangers. And you don't control the outcome, but you do control if you show up. So show up. That's number one. Number two is the second thing that really drives your business and will predict your revenue is you must make offers. Shocking, right? Like you have to make an offer. And I will tell you what an offer is not, because I think we've got this confused. An offer is not a social media post where we say, hey, I've got a program or service, buy my stuff. Like that's not an offer. That's visibility. Yes. Mm-hmm. But it's not an offer, because I don't have any success in my business. 99% of my clients don't engage in my social media before they hire me. It's not to say that they don't see it, because I know they step into my world and say, you know that program, the Business Accelerator, I kind of think I want to talk about it. I'm like, oh, awesome. Let's do that. But you have to make the offer. And an offer is a conversation in some style. You know, it could be an oral one. It could be a written one. It could be a DM. It could be a process, a form. It could be a lot of things. Choose your style. But what it is I see value in what you do. I want that result. I'd like to know what your programs and services like. And you ask this question: would you like me to make you an offer? And then it's an offer.
I love that.
But if you don't make any offers, I would tell you, you don't have any money coming into your business. Simple. So at minimum, a bit of time in your business, track those two things, because we think we make a lot of offers. All of us do, because it feels uncomfortable when we do it. So it really lives big in our head. But if I asked you, how many offers have you made in the last 30 days? Probably a small number. And the answer to that is it probably should be a bigger number, because the more offers you make, the more opportunity to say yes, the more consistent your income, the more confident you have that you know your business is in good health, which means you actually will stop procrastinating because you've got irons in the fire.
Yeah. And when you start that momentum, you don't want to stop.
Yeah. It rides itself.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's amazing. Hey there, listeners. Ever feel like you're struggling to connect with customers or lead your team effectively? That's where soft skills come in.
Entrepreneur Encounter isn't just another podcast. We're a community dedicated to helping early stage entrepreneurs like you master the soft skills that make or break a business.
Technical skills are important, but without communication, collaboration, and confidence, your business might never get off the ground to the next level.
In our membership, Dana and I share actionable insights and tips to help you nurture the soft skills you need to thrive.
Give you access to bonus content, workshops, and a network of like-minded entrepreneurs who are all on the same journey.
We'll teach you how to boost your confidence,
become a leader who inspires and motivates your team,
navigate conflict like a pro,
to resolve disagreements without drama and build stronger relationships,
communicate clearly and concisely, get your message across, build trust, and close the deal.
If you're ready to take your business to the next level, join the circle by clicking the link in the show notes. A lot of gurus are like, how many coffee chats do you have? Like, that's the number they focus on. I mean, yes, it is a numbers game. And so you would need the coffee chats, but are you making an offer during every single coffee chat, or are you just leaving it hanging? I noticed one of my clients recently, it's only because I had a workflow to check up behind him, honestly, without meaning to. He will have coffee chats with brides, but afterwards isn't sending them a proposal immediately in the follow-up email. His email was along the lines of, it was great talking to you. Let me know when you're ready for a proposal. And I text him immediately and I was like, what are you doing? You send them the proposal. You just wowed them with your amazingness during this coffee chat. Send them the proposal.
Yeah, that's a leadership gap, because he thinks he made an offer. I will guarantee you, he thinks he made the offer. That's not an offer. The passive aggressive, if you want more information, come to me, is not an offer. It sounds like we had good value. Here is the offer. Or would you like me to make an offer? And what's important about this, and I'm going to challenge you a little bit on, it's a numbers game. It is a numbers game in terms of getting in front of an audience. Yes. But one conversation can become a client.
Yes.
You don't need to have 100 to get the client. And I always like how I build my business with my clients or how I help them create a client growth engine. I said, if we know who the buyer is and we know what actions predict the revenue in the next 90 days, our goal is to build a strategy, lots of different tactics, but choose the strategy to move somebody from curious to paid client. Like that's the goal. And that's the repeating engine. How do we move people from curiosity to paid client? And how do we lead the offer when it's in the right moment? I said, but if you start to pull the buyer that you want to serve, you don't have to have 100 coffee chats. You can leverage your time and get in front of more people in a leverage way, like speaking, for example, or going to a networking room where there's 30 people in the room instead of 30 coffee chats. And then you have only the calls with the people who are moving already towards you. And I said, 10 coffee chats a month, 8 offers because you've got the right coffee chats happening, 8 offers, 6 yeses is a dream that's everybody's business goal. I'm like, you can do that. And if you suddenly thought that, you're probably like, I can do that in an hour a day. Yes, you can.
I love that because this is motivating me to because we've talked in past episodes about how taking those baby steps, getting out of your comfort zone and having a conversation with somebody. I believe that a lot of people, when you're saying let me know if you have any more questions without actually making an offer, I think people are afraid to make that offer because I've noticed that people just have a conversation to give value, but if it's your ideal client, why not make that offer?
Well, it's procrastination. Yeah, it is procrastination.
Yeah, exactly.
We're afraid of the no, but truthfully, here's the thing you need to remember. And you can write a Post-it note and put it by your workspace to remind you until you can instinctively get this. And I would do that with all of my clients.
Yeah.
Remember that if you're at a place in a conversation where you think opportunity is on the table, you need to remember that the value is not diminished whether they say yes or no, because the fact that you're ready to make an offer means there's value on the table. So you need to own, I created value.
Yeah.
And that's the win. Your job as a business owner is to constantly create the value because honestly, I wrote this to my community on, there's a blog post that will come out about it as well. Here's a shocking stat. Most of your clients won't say yes the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 100%.
Nobody tells you that. So you feel like I don't want to make the offer because they're not going to say yes. Well, I will tell you, probably 60% of the people who come work with me don't take the first offer. And it's not because they don't value me. What they're really saying to me is, I know, and I've known for years that I'm going to work with you, but I'm scared that it's going to get real when I work with you. And I'm going to have to really follow through because you'll hold me accountable. And yes, the answer is true. I will. And so they're like, I want to do the dance. But then they watch my business and they watch it and they go, I'm still watching and I still really see the value. And usually what happens is they say, I don't want to do the small thing. I need you for a longer period of time because I know I'm going to get in my way. And I know that now because I just got in the way for the last year and I didn't go anywhere. And I watched your business go really far and I thought I could have rode with you shotgun. And so if you know, like right now, I'm just going to break it all down. Like not everyone will take your first offer, but the fact you made one is the win, not the fact they said yes.
Yeah.
The fact they said yes means there's value on the table, which means they're going to be a client. The question you need to commit to, second Post-it note, is I will stay at the table, which means I have confidence I will be in my business in 6 months when you're ready. I have confidence I'm going to be here in a year when you're ready. Here's more value. Here's an event to be part of. This newsletter I thought was really great for you. You're nurturing the relationship. And when you watch them and you're nurturing the relationship and you said, sounds like the problem still exists. Do you want to revisit that conversation?
Mm-hmm.
They might get the yes and say, same thing. You know, you still have the problem. Do you want to talk about it? Yes. Do you want me to make an offer? Because you might not ever ask me unless I lead this. They're like, yes, make me an offer and hold my hand. And they go through and say yes. So normalize, not everyone says yes, but normalize it's up to you to lead it. And as part of that, you need to know and you build towards this. So I encourage you to build towards it. Why are you the must hire? Because so often what I see in your story, Dana, they said, I said, if you're ready, let me know when you want a proposal. What they're really saying is, I'm educating that you need services. What they haven't said And the small tweak that's the big win is you need services and here's why you hire me. This is the offer. You've got to segue that because truthfully, I see it all the time in service providers. And that's who I mentor.
Mhm.
You're talking about how amazing what you do as a service is, but nowhere along the way do you say, I'm in business, you should hire me. Do that. You'll have more success.
Do that. Just do that.
Yeah, oh my goodness. I'm so inspired right now. You have no idea.
Yay. Go do something great.
I love this. So how can entrepreneurs, small business owners shift their mindset to overcome these mental blocks of getting in their own way and procrastinating, even if it's just a simple fear of saying, you need services and this is why you should hire me? Like, how can we shift that mindset for them? Or how can they?
Yeah, the first thing I do is a really simple thing. Shocker. I put a Post-it note on your workspace. So the thing is, truthfully, like we have 40 to 60,000 thoughts in our brain and almost all of them are negative, right? Like that's just the subconscious nattering.
Yeah.
So you've got to rewire your thing. So I tell my clients one of the first things we do is we write Post-it notes about what it is we want instead of what it is we don't want. And I put them around the workspace. And I also encourage you to put them on the fridge and your bedside table because you want to see this in your own handwriting, a new story. So when we talk about offers, I have a Post-it note. It's been on my office for 5 years. And it says, what is my goal? It's like, my job is to show up, to be a resource, to not judge other people, and to be the catalyst for change. So I look at that Post-it note and says, I show up. I'm looking for problems to solve, people to support, and ways I can love them. That's what the Post-it note actually says. And so I remind myself, and I look at that, probably thousands of times a day. And then when I sit there procrastinating, I go, you need to show up as that person.
Oh, I love that.
Go do one thing and then get yourself a coffee. It's really simple, but that's a habit that I'm building. And then it reminds me when I sit at my desk for that 1 hour, I go, this is bigger than me. Who am I here to search for? How can I support them? And how can I love them? And loving them really is saying, I can help you. This is how I can help you make the offer. And I do track that really simple thing to them. How many people I'm meeting? How many offers am I making? And I remind myself that I need to show up as that person. And so when I remind myself I can't, I just go, I actually wrote I could do it. So who am I to tell myself I can't do it?
Like you were saying, like it's so naturally that everybody generally is so wrapped up in their own thoughts about like, okay, like we were talking about the what ifs, like what if I can't do it? What if they say no? But if you don't do it, if you're just going to sit back and just watch everybody else do it, how would you know? Like, how would you know if you don't do it? So I know personally over the last year, I've been learning and growing and trying to figure out both personally and professionally learning. And the growth that I've seen is tremendous. But if I never put the effort in to do that, then I probably would have been stuck in the same place I was 2 years ago. So it takes time.
Yeah, you choose your speed. And that's the thing that I will also say, don't get caught in that highlight reel of what the speed looks like.
Exactly.
Because things that worked 5 years ago where you could do that in a nanosecond don't work today.
Yeah.
And what's the time that you're willing to trade? I said, I think one of the most important questions I have with my clients a lot is what's your capacity? Because capacity truly is a solvable problem, always. But like my capacity was 1 hour a day when I started.
Yeah.
My capacity now is different. But I said, I also know that there's going to be a value and a volume conversation that we need to check in with our businesses all the time. Because if you make, for example, 10 offers, could you see and handle 10 clients that all on board and said yes? I'm not saying self-sabotage yourself, but really know, is that the right offer? Is that the right opportunity? Have I got capacity to do it? And it's okay to make the offer. And I have great clients that I've mentored to do this. I said, you can say, I make the offer now when we start in March.
Mm-hmm.
Or I make the offer now when we start here. But the commitment is the key, which is you saw value because we're even having a conversation about an offer. And you to control the timing and the start. And I control when I'm ready for you to get you the result and guide you as the business service provider. Mm-hmm. This is 1%. If you just stacked the 1% and you stayed clear that it was a non-negotiable and you had the reminders in your own Post-it notes, what to focus on and how you wanted to show up, you will start to feel the engine and then you control your speed. Some seasons are Mach 10 hair on fire and some seasons are not.
Yeah.
But what I want you to explore is not to take your foot off the pedal. You can slow it down, but don't go to zero because all the movement you built just crashes. Stay in the game, choose the speed, but do this really intentionally. And it's that simple. It's not effortless. I do get that. But if you need effort and support, like now you know to come find some resources that I have, like follow along, build a skill. And if you need support, ask for an offer.
I love it.
I love all the things. I feel like I could talk to you for 5 hours. We don't have all that time. So I think that's a great final piece to kind of land on is be honest with yourself and answer what is your capacity. Because I know myself, and I'm sure I'm not alone with our listeners and audiences, I constantly put crap on my calendar, knowing good and well, I'm not going to be able to do all of it. And then I've mentioned in previous episodes, my calendar looks like a rainbow, but there are some seasons where it looks like a rainbow exploded and it's beyond my capacity. So constantly like having that regular check-in of what am I actually capable of doing right now? And then updating my scheduler links, making sure that, you know, the blocks are put in there so things don't start stacking on top of each other and then have to have that awkward conversation of, actually, I'm not available. Let's move you, because that doesn't set a good taste in someone's mouth and doesn't build confidence. So that's, I guess, our challenge this week for our listeners or this episode is what is your capacity? And share it with us and maybe we can help. But for those that are listening and are curious, how can they connect with you? How can they find you? What's the best way to connect with you?
This is a really simple thing too. And here's a hint. Just make it simple. You can find me under my name. I'm sure needs some spelling support, but it's ChristineCampbellRapin.com. This is where my home lives. Come find me. You can connect to me on my website. You'll learn free resources. You can see where you can come play in spaces where I play. You can come connect to me on social media, but it's one place. Come start there and find what you need right now for your one next step. Can't wait to connect with you.
Well, thank you. Oh my goodness, this was such a great conversation. I had so much fun just like listening to you.
I know. I was like, I have so many more questions, but I would be respectful of time. And we'll just have to have you come back.
As always, all the information is going to be in our show notes. Until next time.
Bye.
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 Thanks for tuning in to another episode. Remember, soft skills aren't just some fluffy buzzwords that get thrown around in the corporate world. They're the key to unlocking your full potential as a professional and a human being. Don't be afraid to invest in yourself and seek out opportunities to improve your soft skills. Sarah and I have a variety of workshops, online courses, and complimentary clarity calls for you to practice in real time with us. Links are always in the show notes. And be sure to join us next time for more insights, tips, and tricks to help you succeed in your entrepreneur encounter.